Welcome back to the Midlands Rugby Podcast, episode 4. I think we've just spoken to the guest, but we'll let loose a bit later who that is. Phil, how you getting on?
I'm doing well, mate. Yeah, getting into the swing of things now. Getting my Wednesday podcasting back into back into my diary.
Feeling the groove.
Yeah, back in the groove.
Back in the groove. How did your weekend go? We made it obvious we had a bit of a rest week last week. Did you
Yeah,
end off
lots of
rugby?
childcare. Went up and watched Noah play. Yeah, not much else to be honest. Yourself? Probably a slightly better weekend than mine.
What did I do this weekend? Can't remember. Oh yeah, went out
Yeah,
a bit. Saturday watched some rugby. And then spent the rest of the week thinking, Worcester's gone. And now, look like Waspies have gone as well.
yeah.
They've
That's
just been suspended from the league, which is not ideal.
No, that's not a great look for the Premiership, is it?
One of your big Premiership teams that everyone remembers had some great rugby players over the past few years, including Big Lol Delallier, who is on the board of Wasps, and that's it's not gone well. They're out the league.
No, and I think this might just be the tip of the iceberg for professional rugby in the UK,
I
or
think
especially in
so.
England.
I don't know how it goes. Obviously, it won't disappear immediately, but I think, well, because people have been buying up Worcester players, and and that's great for the individuals, but there's still 85% of Worcester players that are without a club, and now there
Plus
is
the staff.
Worcester staff, Worcester fans without anything. What I did like was I can't remember who it was, but I think it was Sale that said Worcester can, or someone relatively close to Worcester, fans can go out there with their season ticket and watch free rugby. I think a
It
lot
was
of
Gloucester. It was Gloucester, yeah.
that's right. That's relative. That was more close than Sale, which was the first thing that came out of my mouth. So the rugby community is trying to stick together over it, but it's just really difficult when you're seeing teams topple within days of each other.
Yeah, I think it's probably pretty unprecedented, I would have thought, in professional sport,
Yeah,
um, to lose two teams in such close succession in one league. You just got to hope that something's done. Is this where franchising comes to fruition? Is this where we take the Super Rugby model and run with it in the UK, or you know, in the Northern Hemisphere?
yeah. It's the only logical way forward for me financially. I don't know much about finance in sport, but to me,
It's not good at any level in any sport, but it seems extra bad in rugby right now.
it's very bad in rugby right now. And what is sad to see is seeing the staff which are involved who you listen to some of the Worcester boys on podcasts which clearly aren't ours, and some of the Wasp boys as well. The staff have been working for free for the last 2 months because they don't want to give up. It's the lads are kind of like, oh right, yeah, we've been paid 50%, or we've not been paid, but actually we know we can go and make probably a few thousand at a Nat two club, a Nat one club, or a champ club. So they're kind of all right. But these staff, they don't. Yeah, it's that's sad to see. That's
Yeah,
sad.
no, definitely. I think see what happens. Premiership's been turned upside down a bit by it. COVID's kind of led into a sort of a strange setup in the Premiership anyway, and then the whole thing with Doncaster and Ealing, two of the better run clubs in the country, I would have thought, kind of really would really irritate them. I would have thought that they were denied the opportunity to get promoted last year when their finances and stuff were in good nick. So quite frustrating one on their point, but we'll see how it all unravels in the next 18 months. I would have thought.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I wanted to touch on before you went, just to get your opinion of, is when we spoke about it last week, and I touched on it last week with JP about how can these big clubs go so bad when and spend so much cash and get themselves into trouble when their academy setups are so good. And what I picked up from other podcasts, which I probably didn't consider before, but all these lads which have gone through the academy at Worcester and that now Wasps going, I want to stick here because I want to play for Wasps. I want to be one of them Wasp boys there. But now that doesn't look like a dream that they're never going to be able to fulfil. So it surely has a massive knock on English rugby in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Worcester and Wasps locations, the better academy players who might have made anyway are in good stead to go to. You know, if you're at Wasps, you've got Northampton not far away. You've got Tigers not too far away.
Good.
So you're probably all right there. Worcester have got Gloucester not miles away. Sale if your geography's as good as Tom's. But yeah, it's I think there's chance. You know, JP touched on that as well last week. That these academy systems they're far reaching, and they pick up players from everywhere. Very few go through the net who aren't. They get found out. So if you think each year group probably generates 2 to 3 players on average in each club that go on and play at a high level, you would expect those 3 from Wasps and 3 from Worcester, for example, to get picked up by other clubs. So hopefully that happens. And, it's not easy for anyone. Being in a Premiership academy is a slog. Not that I know, but friends who have done it. And this definitely won't be easy on the lads that have worked so hard to get into that position, to have it all sort of the rug pulled underneath their feet for absolutely no fault of their own.
What I don't get is how I slipped through a net, because I don't slip through anything, let alone a net. I'm not sure.
No, you were stuck on one of those whaling ships in Japan, weren't you?
I got harpooned. That was massively different. Should we come a little bit closer to home in the sense of community?
Yeah. So we're going to try and do a review, aren't we, throughout the year on different levels?
Yeah.
Regional levels. So we're going to start at Counties 3 level today. We're going to caveat this one early that we don't know a great deal about the West Midlands.
Yeah, as in, I don't know where the divider is between East and West in the Midlands.
Neither do the RFU by the looks of it. So this will be interesting.
They're not sure on anything, including how to deliver a bath, which makes no sense at this point of the pod, but later it will. They look like they had a week off last week.
Well, the one we started at is Counties 3, Midlands East South, which only has 7 teams in. So, yeah, they'll have a few weeks off, I think. But there's 2 teams in there that we recognise straight away in South Leicester, who are currently sitting 7th, and Rugby Lions, who are currently sitting top, both of which have dropped all the way down to that Counties 3 level from the old Midlands 1 that we used to play in, which is quite sad to see. There's a few teams in there that I don't know a great deal about. Deeping used to play a decent level. I seem to remember them being in Paviour's fixture list whiles back. Bedford Swifts I've heard of, but I don't know a great deal about.
Bedford Swifts, actually. I know a little bit about Bedford Swifts. Do you want a fact about Bedford Swifts?
Go on then.
Based in Bedford.
You better hope that's right. Yeah, so, it's not much we know about that league. It's a small league. I would expect Rugby Lions to do very well in it, purely because they're a big club. And their facilities are fantastic, as long as they still have those facilities. If we go on to...
Let's just stop. We said, let's get away. Let's move closer to home, move away from the Wasp saga and the Worcester saga. Quite potentially, they could be South Leicester Rugby next year. This could be their league.
That could be Worcester's group, yeah.
The old boys pull out them 6-inch studs again. You might get Joe Launchby on your pitch soon.
So a league we are familiar with, Tom, is Counties 3, Midlands East, North East.
Oh, there's some Notts teams in here. I know about them.
Yeah, so top of the league is the Medics. We're 5 from 5.
Bob, this is the league I play in, Bob. Do you know what? I didn't even realise.
Sleaford are in second. Paviour's seconds. Who yourself plays for regularly. Is second and third, 4 from 5. Some other teams in there that we know well: Newark, Seoul, Ollerton. I think, I don't know, you're probably in a better position to talk about this league than I am, mate, because you're playing it.
We've played Newark so far, North Wycombe, Worksop wasn't available for that one. Meadenvale, Cleethorpes. They are. It's like anything at that level. It's difficult because you've got the likes of Pabs twos, Newark twos, Southall twos, who are obviously second teams. They will be our second team, a little bit better at training than maybe most. Southall, I know, often struggling, but then you've got the likes of Cleethorpes, Meadenvale, Ollerton, that is their first team. So you've got lads who have access to coach. I'm not saying better, but coaching from people who are playing at a higher level, like we do here, like Newark do, like Southall do. But then you've got the lads who are actually first team, so they're all there week in, week out, as opposed to where we're us twos probably a little bit more sporadic. So they are very, very drilled. What's weird about that league is probably at the start of the season, you would have said us, Newark and Medics. Hope Medics have put some points on the board. So I'm hoping in 2 weeks' time when we've got them, all the junior doctors are on shift, all the good rugby players.
You've got to hope, haven't you?
You've got to hope, because we've played games against them where we've been pooed 99-0 and then won 60-0 a week about 4 weeks later. So it's one of them. And Newark twos, who knows, we've got them last game of the season, could be big. But teams like Sleaford, North Icombe, big lads just want to play rugby, but they have got young whippersnappers that like to be a little bit more expansive. So kind of fits the way we like playing as well. So it's quite a nice battle sometimes. Anyway, less about me. Should we go up to the next one?
Yeah, so this is Counties 3, Midlands East, North West. Is that right?
There's a lot at the County 3 level, don't we, everyone?
Yeah, so lots of teams in there. We've got lots of second teams in there. So you've got Long Eaton twos, Matlock twos, West Fishford twos, Dronfield twos, Ashbourne twos, Melbourne twos, and Derby twos, who are currently sat top of the league 5 from 5.
Bridgeford twos.
Bridgeford twos are there, yeah.
Like I mentioned, West Bridgeford twos are in there.
Yeah, West Bridgeford twos are in there. Yeah, there's a few, like Rolls Royce have been around forever. You played them a few times last year, didn't you?
We played Rolls Royce a few times. Yeah, we had them. Technically, had them on the beer festival when I got so I dropped the ball over the line and still celebrated. That's by the by. That's what happens when you're a legend.
Self-professed. Yeah, Chesterfield Panthers are coached by our friend Charlie Davies.
Our friend Charlie D. Long Eaton, coached by our mate Matty Ev.
Yeah, Long Eaton have taken a big leap there by obviously chucking their twos in at that level. I think that's a great call, though. I think that's the best way to. My personal preference is that's the best way to develop players. If you've got the players to play, get them in the league.
100%, and it shows. I think it shows you. Like obviously, we try not to talk about Pavs too much, our club, but you can see by just being in the RFU leagues and in a league like this, where it's so much, lads are more interested in learning because they want to play a structure, because they know that structure actually will work 9 times out of 10 across the park. So actually, it's great. It's a good builder for a club, and I think a club like Long Eaton. There was a few years ago, I remember going to play him, and it was just, I'd never seen a team go from not from nothing, but just to spring out of nowhere and start to rise up a little bit so quickly in kind of first hand. So that was good to see. Keyworth, I know they like listening to the pod. Good to see them still whacking out 1 or 2 teams. So it's a good league, that one, I think.
Yeah, well, you got Derby twos there, and they'll be strong. Derby twos will be strong. Derby's really strengthened in the last year or so.
Yeah.
Chesterfield Panthers in second place, Keyworth in third, and Tupton in fourth. So there you've got kind of Derby twos and 3 first teams heavily involved in the league. So that's good. The next one is Counties 3, Mids West South. I am going to suggest that I know very little about this. Apart from top of the league, there is Birmingham and Solihull.
Oh, were they?
Who was my first ever game for Nottingham, Birmingham and Solihull.
Was it?
So yeah, they've had a very torrid time. I think they got kicked out of the leagues a couple of years ago and had to start again. There's not much I know about the rest of the teams in there, to be honest. Pershaw, I've heard of them before, but I think that's because something comes from there that I eat.
What comes from Pershaw? Something comes from Pershaw, doesn't it?
You have to look at that. But yeah, Birmingham certainly at the top of the league, 5 from 5. Rugby Welsh are also 5 from 5, and Pershore are third. That looks like a kind of a heavily split league. The bottom four of Coventralians, Old Yardillians, Chaddersley, Corbett, and Birmingham Exiles, all getting 1 win each, apart from Birmingham Exiles, we've lost all 5. Don't really know much about them, Tom. So I'm going to move on to the next one.
And to be fair, I'm looking at Pershaws site, visitor centre site at the minute. It doesn't give me much, but I do recognise it. Might be a cheese, to be fair. Oh, Stratford upon Avon's not far away. I know where Pershaw is. That's where I know it from. Next one. Sorry. Everyone.
And the final one is Counties 3, Midlands West North.
North. And who have we got in here? Some more.
So again, not much I know about this league. In fact,
ain't that up?
Cannock, we've heard of Cannock before.
They're North. They all sound very northern, don't they? Sorry for people that play for them, but Ecclesall, that sounds quite northern.
Yeah, Eccleshall, but yeah, good try.
Eccleshall. Shawl. Oh,
yeah.
Ludlow. Seen that on a signpost. Sorry, guys. I mean, we were asking 2 blokes that only started this so they could have a beer together through lockdown on Zoom.
Yeah.
Now we're trying our hardest to give.
Well, we'd quite like to hear from people at these clubs to get to know these clubs, wouldn't we? And we've had, well, you'll see shortly, we've had Wellingborough on today. We've played Wellingborough in the past, but it's great to have them on. Different club, if we've got your club's name wrong or Tom's got your club's name wrong, and you want to come have a go at him about it, then get in touch and we'll get you on the pod.
Mate, I am happy to get guests on who just want to try and abuse me for an hour, considering I edit them. Doesn't bother me. We actually follow Ludlow.
We do. That's good of us.
As a pod. They played Crewe last week. Maybe it was Ludlow ones that we spoke to. But yeah, I approach Ludlow. They've been liking my social media stuff, so we'll have a go at them.
Good stuff. Well, that's the review of Counties 3. A mixed
Can I
bag.
just say, before we go any further, I know we've not really touched. Ben Taylor keeps messaging me. It's doing me head in. He's so needy tonight because his friend's on. We don't normally talk about scores, and we've seen a lot of points be leaked this season in and around Nottingham. But this proves that this is not just a Nottingham thing at the minute. As well, I mean, I'm not going to dwell on the fact that Whitchurch 2s but lost this amount, but under Needwood, 107-0 they won last time they went out at home. That's a big win.
Yeah, and they've scored 203 points, which suggests they've only scored 96-ish across the other 4 games.
Which isn't bad.
Which actually, it still isn't that bad, is it?
Still BP games each week, isn't it?
Whitchurch are hurting it as well because they've had 10 points docked already.
Boys.
As have Ashton Old Edwardians.
Oh no. Maybe we shouldn't dwell on this one. We'll go up to
well, we're done. That's it. That's level 3 done.
Next week we'll go Counties 2. There'll be some clubs we know and other clubs I'll butcher. It'll be fine. It'll be absolutely fine. So that's the roundup. We will get better as we speak to more people and do this more. I'm sure we'll get better at what we do.
We're all learning, aren't we, Tom? We're all
learning. I say we'll get better at what we do. We've been podcasting for 3 years. Still wouldn't say we were amazing, but we're getting there. So we've just spoken to him. It's always awkward when you do an intro to someone after you've spoken to him. But Phil, we've got a guest on now.
Yeah.
He was recommended by a previous guest, Ben Taylor. I've already mentioned him. He
wasn't wrong.
He wasn't wrong. He said, good chat, quite loose. And he sounds, and I don't know, and this isn't taking the mick out of him, but when you hear someone's voice and they sound like they're a little bit rare, sense of they like a beer. They've got that tone of, I like a beer. Don't mess with me because I'll drink you under the table. Lovely bloke. And he sounds like he's a proper club man as well. So if you are a club listening and you've heard your name called out or you want to get someone on, clubmen are the ones we want because they're the ones that know the ins and outs. But Owen Tomalin, or Tomlin, but it was Tomalin, he told me how to say it. What a guy. Good lad.
Yeah, really good chat in the bar with a few of the lads behind him. I think that was one of my favourite setups we've had so far.
Yeah, and if you're not watching on YouTube, it is worth just having a quick peek over to see the setup. He interacted with his fans. If anything, he's very much like me. If anything, he knows how to man of the people. That's what we are, Phil. You don't like people, I do. Should we talk to Owen?
Do it.
Oh. So here we are with Owen Tomalin from Wellingborough. Owen, how you getting on, mate?
Yes, mate, good. A little wet tonight, a little bit damp out there, coaching the 15s, but otherwise all right.
You are looking a bit soggy, mate. That hair is really hanging on in the wet, isn't it? Jeez.
Yeah, we do afford as best we can.
And it's coming from me.
And the boys in the bar will give you anything, I tell you.
It is nice. This is only the second time we've had effectively a live audience. The other time we had a live audience, he kept interrupting, and it was our mate Jim. So it's nice to brought some lads along with you.
Oh, mate, I can't go anywhere about this lot.
Yeah, a little on to. How much is a pint at Wellingborough on Wednesday?
So a pint at Wellingborough is a pint of our ciders and our loaves are around about $3.50.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, we're still keeping it reasonably low. At some point, it is going to go, and we'll have to bump it up when all the other prices go. But hey, such is life. We'll go with it.
I think that's a good question, opening question for everyone we interview from different clubs, Phil. Just ask how much a pint is, and then maybe our bar will listen at our place. So, Owen, let us know how you got into rugby and how you found Wellingborough.
Oh, well, so I was really lucky, man. My dad was never played, but always did all the grounds at the club, and kind of introduced me to it at a very young age, and then from 7 off over to France on a tour, kind of captain all the sides and played in all the sides going through from like 7 all the way up to Colts. Some amazing times, met some great players, great memories. Played for a couple of different clubs when I toured with Kettering as well, our local rivals, through my PE teacher. Played some representative rugby when I was coming up through, and then left Wellingborough and did a bit of travelling. Played around in South Africa for a bit. Played for Cape Town Harlequins and Cape Town Villages for a bit. A year and a bit down there, and then back to the club. Kind of been here ever since in a coaching and playing capacity.
What was it like playing in Cape Town?
It was really, really intense all the time. Just from the moment you stepped into the clubhouse, they gave me a place to stay. They are sponsored by Castle, so every time you played a game, you come in afterwards, and there'd be a crate of beer sat for the front row. Just but intense, and age grade all the way up to 21, and then straight into adults. And I was over there at 20, so it was kind of thrown into the deep end, and loads of travelling and loads of meeting different people from different backgrounds. It was good.
Is it a lot more physical over there, or did you find it kind of on a par?
I was at the time. I was quite. I'm quite weighty now, but I was a lot heavier than the under 21s there, because they kind of push them up really early. And I went over there in an under 21 capacity, and I was playing against 17, 18-year-olds to start with. So to find the first bit of rugby over there was reasonably easy, because I was a lot more physically intimidating than they were. But then once I got moved up into the senior sections, mainly just because of the ground and the temperature, it was a big shock for a little while. It was fun, and you took the rough with the smooth.
Yeah. What position do you play, or did you play?
I play hooker as a rule. Occasionally, I have to kind of fire in at prop, but I'm not the most talented prop in the world. But I'll be on a hooker.
Hooker's easier, isn't it? It's just all footwork and then push. Easier than prop. I don't know if the crowd enjoyed that one. I'm not sure.
Team was my game. If I'm really honest, I really enjoyed getting punched in the face. And it's gone though, isn't it? I watch the boys these days, and they've got their VOs, and the art of winding someone up to the point of breaking has kind of gone these days. And I derive a great deal of pleasure in like kind of irritating people enough for them to want to kind of fill me in, which was pleasure. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you say that, mate, but I know we've had a bit of a spy on somewhat the inside. I heard you tried to swing it. Someone was at Old Scouts, and it didn't go quite to plan, did it?
It doesn't always go to plan, no, mate. No. Occasionally you miss, you get caught, and you get binned and punished. Yeah, I lost a fair shape of my nose, and I got a yellow card for that one as well. Yeah.
Yeah. The message that our mate Ben Taylor sent was from Peter Gilby, and it said that you were screaming for backup, but backup never arrived. So, if anything, it's your team.
Don't always arrive, mate. But I'm sure when I think we're all learned men, we'll call us learned men rather than aged. If you book them, they will come. They didn't come that day, mate.
The cavalry never arrived. Phil, have you ever played in South Africa?
No, I've never been to South Africa. I can't imagine I'd enjoy it. Every South African I've ever played with or against has been quite physical. But yeah, no, I've personally been down there. I played against the South African team in Australia when I went there on tour, and they were absolutely ginormous. It's not somewhere that I've thought would be suited to my style.
Yeah. Culture, ability, size.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite big and I'm quite physical, but I quite like being the biggest and physicalist on the pitch.
Clearly, the cleverest as well.
The cleverest, yeah.
Before we move on, Owen, how are you boys getting on this season?
Do you know what? We're having a really good season, and the boys at the back here, and we've got a really nice ethos in the club at the minute. Training sessions are 35 to 45. Thursdays we knock out some food for them after training. So they're all coming into the bar, and from the first team prop to the third team fullback, they're all breaking bread together. We have a bit of a thirsty Thursday leaderboard to see who can stay the latest. And we got to set drink. Well, I try and set drinking targets just so I can serve some more beer, if I'm brutally honest. But they're all there and having a nice time at it. It's helping. The problem is, if I can be frank, trying to get the boys in the third team a game every week. Like we're supposed to be playing again this week, and that was going to be our only home game this week because our first were away. Where are you boys this week? Stamford. They're Stamford, and second's away at Milton Keynes, and our third was supposed to be at home at Milton Keynes. That was going to be our only home game, which is the bread and butter that keeps the club going. But the Milton Keynes can't raise the third team this week, and trying to find one's quite tough. So, trying to keep them interested is probably our hardest one at the minute because they come and train and they're putting a good shift in, but they're not always getting games every week.
Yeah, I think we found exactly the same at Pavs. We've entered our second team into the lower leagues just to ensure that they get weekly fixtures, and our third team kind of would have a squad, but we struggle to actually find them a fixture. So. I think that's kind of across the board, across the Midlands especially.
Yeah, I think it's our third team went up to Melton Mowbray, and they played Melton Mowbray and Alston St James a few weeks ago in a little round robin because Melton Mowbray and Alston have both only got about 10 between them, and I think we got about 17, 18. So the want to do it's still there, whether the actual number of players and teams and with the cost of living going up. Being able to travel about and fill your car with fuel every week. There's another one.
Could be worse. You could be travelling to Alnwick. That's
a trip. It's a trip.
Yeah. Not dwell on that one yet again. But it's hard doing it because we've got lads that want to play rugby in the third team, but they're bored of giving up their Saturdays, not making plans to sit on their arse on a Saturday, and then have to be at home. So then they're planning stuff on Saturdays, which means when we've got a game, we can't feel the sit. So it's just a bit of a shit side.
Yeah, it's a vicious circle.
Yeah, massively. Congratulations, by the way. I've heard your prize is still in the post, but congratulations on winning that bath back.
Oh, mate, I'll send you that picture. You know what? That picture was monumental.
It's a great picture. I've got it here. I can put it on the Instagram.
Yeah, that could be the picture you use. Now, don't tell anybody, but that is a foot between my legs, not my weapon.
I've not noticed the foot because that's not,
Yeah,
not the first place to go.
Yeah, that got like 70,000 retweets, and then 3 weeks later, when I sent a young man down to go and pick it up, they said, "Oh, so we sacked the bloke that auctioned it off because Chris Robshaw wants to keep it himself." So yeah, never got it.
Oh. Amazing. From 2014, Robshaw. I'm not sure he listens. To be fair, give him a bath. We'll start a GoFundMe page for your bath if you want, mate.
Yeah, I could do one. My son definitely needs one.
I'll send you a paddling pool.
Yeah, cheers.
That's as far as I can go.
I've got one. I've got one in the shed actually.
So we've covered lots of stuff, and going back to that stuff about the third team rugby. Ben mentioned, was it back to rugby that you started at Wellingborough? Do you want to give us a bit?
Yeah, we started something going on like 9 years ago now. We were struggling just to kind of, our third team and fourth team was just kind of slowing down, and people that were kind of coming down and venturing into that group or coming out of the first team weren't necessarily wanting to play rugby anymore. They were finishing at 37, 38. We're quite an old, mature team, and they weren't really, they're at the end of their cycle, so they weren't filtering down. I just sat with a few people, and a bloke called Pete Alabone and myself, who was a referee and a coach up here, we just said, we'd watch School of Hard Knocks, and we just thought, why don't we try and have a pop at something like that? And we just put a few feelers out, used social media, fired away a couple of posts saying, that just read purely simply, have you ever wanted to give it a go? Have you ever wanted to give it a go, but you've never actually been able to do it because you might have been that bloke that was picked last at school, or you might have been that bloke that had no interest in rugby at the time, but actually the idea of giving it a go now might be something that kind of that floats your boat. We people age from the oldest bloke that came in and started was 47. The youngest bloke we had came in, he was 18, and he had a pop here. Yeah, it was just nice. Yeah, and we went every Wednesday, and it started with a motley crew of about 7 or 8 lads, and by the end of it, we were up to 35, 40 lads, all having a nice time, and every week someone from the first team. I mean, a couple of lads that went, he's still a bit young for it, but Dan just in the back, give him a wave, Dan. Just in the back there, he was just coming out of Colts at the time, and their knowledge of rugby was far and above any of the knowledge of these lads. And they'd come in every week, and they'd adapt their game to how we do a training session. So instead of our first team lads coming in and being that kind of that scary, massive, really, they'd stand in there and they wouldn't move. They weren't allowed to take more than 2 or 3 steps. So they'd just pass the ball, or we'd do drills, and they'd just be encouragement. And every time, if you caught a ball, there was a clap. But more importantly, it was more, how do you get them through the door at the rugby club in the first place? That's the hardest step for anybody that's never been into a rugby club. Actually entering a rugby club is quite a daunting thing, because it's a very alpha male kind of idea for them to come into. So once we've gone through, and then every Wednesday night, we'd stay afterwards, we'd have a good session, a few beers afterwards, they stay a couple of hours, and then the bond between them all was just like really amazing to see. I think the first game, then we got thumped by about 100. And then the second game, I think we popped in about 90. We conceded about 90. And then on the third game, we scored our first try, and we were playing. I've got some of the boys over there. Give them away, boys. They are safe hands. These two started a few years ago. Now they coach the under 13s and 14s now. And I think we're playing. Was it Medborough? when we scored our first try, and there's a wonderful picture, and it's all of them in the bath there, and I think we lost about 60 or 7-0, but they scored their first try. Well, I reckon they're on the left. I reckon. No, not nil. No, well done. 64-5. And then the lunch for about 3 days afterwards. They bloody loved it.
Hey, if you can celebrate a 60-5 loss, I think you'd be. I think you'd be right for a rugby.
And the big successes of it, we've had 3 of them that have never played before, and they've got all the way through to the first team. The biggest successes for me are the 3 lads that are now coaching in the mini junior section that love rugby. That have got one of them's got a Wellingborough tattoo on his leg because it's made such a difference to his life. There's the other ones that two of them tattoos. Sorry, boys. Then there's the other things like some of the lads that come into the system and then they were mingling with the wrong type of people. So because they were the wrong type of people, they're in again a bit like I said, that vicious circle. They weren't getting a job, or they were getting a job that weren't really good. They weren't meeting the people that could put them in the positions where they can get better. One of the lads came and he did all the tiling and behind the bar for free. And then one of the old boys from the Rugby Club saw it. He said, "Oh, what a good job!" Gave him a job. Now this bloke, 9 years on, has got his own tiling business. Wouldn't have happened if he hadn't been given the opportunity. And I'm not going to say that rugby gave him that opportunity, but being in this environment at that particular time definitely did, and it put him on the right path. And I think rugby is a great leveller. You can have one man there that's a millionaire. You can have the next man in the corner that ain't got a pot to piss in. And for me, that's what makes every rugby club a beautiful place, because it doesn't matter which one you are, you all like each other and you all get on it.
Yeah, and there's so many times you hear stories of people that are at rugby clubs. I mean, let's be honest, we've all been involved in rugby clubs for ages. When was the last time we actually got a builder in that you didn't know, or didn't get a lecky in from the club? It's just the way that rugby is, and I do get that. And I think we've just started a very similar scheme of kind of a back to rugby type thing, rugby taster sessions, and we had 1 or 2 the first day, and then I think we've got about 7 or 8 now. So I think the plan is just to keep trying to tick them in and tick them over. And then we do a quiz on a Thursday and have some snap and some beers afterwards. But you can see the lads are already starting to feel that, I feel like a Pavia now, or feel like I play for Wellingborough now, and that's all part and parcel of it. And then you got the lads coaching minis and juniors. And I think that's a testament to yourself and obviously to rugby as a sport as well, and as a community. That's just how you just fall in and you can't get out.
For your group, a really good one that I found was ask the players that have played for years to look in their cupboard and find their old stash. Yeah. And then get them to bring their old stash up. And when someone new comes up, when it's that cold winter's night and you've got a box of like Pavia's stash or modern stash or whatever it is, if you've got that you can give them, all of a sudden when they leave, they've got a badge on.
Yeah.
And they haven't paid for it. And the bloke's missus doesn't want it in the drawer. So actually you're just throwing it away.
Yeah, fair.
I could probably cut out about 3 teams. We could
be. Yeah, right, Phil. We all know you played everywhere else.
No, just Pavia's. Just
Pavia's stuff. Okay, fair. Before we let you go, Owen, and it might be one that the lads behind want to answer on behalf of you, but have you got a favourite either drinking or tour story?
We won't let them get involved in that one because some of the stories aren't really palatable for if it is. Probably my favourite tour story is we were I got lots, but I was thinking about ones that I can put on there and other people can listen to. We went away to Dublin one year and we had a lovely tour. It was a Colts tour, and we had quite a weekend of it. We stayed in a place called the Still Organ Hotel. I couldn't tell you if it was a good hotel or not. I can't remember a great deal of the weekend. But my resounding memory of the whole weekend was we'd had a good couple of games. We were all hanging a little bit, and then we were on the ferry on the way back. Just as we got on, it was a little choppy to say the least. And there was myself, a bloke called JC, and a bloke called Mark Edley, and then a chap on the end called Mearsey. And as we were in there, we'd all had a good session, and then had our breakfast. And as it went to the left, I was down on the right hand side, and it kind of tipped back up. I felt a little bit queasy, so I may say, like, maybe relieve myself of a little bit of my breakfast. As I relieve myself of a bit of this breakfast, it all flew down the urinal. And my friend Mersey at the bottom there picked up the half-eaten tomato and went, "Oh, do you know what? They didn't one of these weren't on my plate." Picked it up, put it straight in his mouth, and finished off in a one.
Oh, million! Absolutely stunning. That's stunning.
At this point, the other 4 players from the team, as well as 2 blokes that were in the urinal at the same time, they all let him go into the toilet. And I have to say, I've never seen anything quite like it in my life.
That is. What position did Mersey play? Can we guess?
Do you know what? He was a fullback, but
they are wrong.
He was one of them players, and you'd have played with these blokes. You know the blokes that turn up to training and haven't done them for years and then beat everybody.
Yeah.
He's one of them. Just good at everything, including eating vomited tomatoes.
Yeah, we've got a lad like that, but his choice. It's not his choice. He didn't turn up to training. But fullbacks can be wrong-uns. We've had a few wrong-uns with a fullback. They're secret. They kind of want to be forwards, but they just
And he'd like to play in any opposition, but he is a proper wrong-un.
Fair play to that. You don't want to waste a tomato.
So, and he had a history of it. Whenever there was an opportunity, because he knew it made people gag and he could do it. It was one of his skill sets.
So he didn't particularly enjoy it. It was look at me, I'm a fullback.
And when you've got a skill set, sometimes you've got to put to it. And I was quite surprised that people didn't say, because one of the skill sets I used to have as a colt, was I dislocated my hip, and when they put my hip back in when I was playing, my left nut got stuck in my hip and it blew it up. Blooming out, I tell you, blooming out. But because of that, they got to like level it up, so they gave me a plastic one. Now, what I didn't know at the time was your nutsack is a bit like your elbow, so you've got no feeling in there at all. So what we used to do on a Saturday night was to go out, and then we used to bet the people in the pub that I couldn't staple my nuts to the bar, and this was Gilby's favourite trick, you see. So I thought it was used to get up on the bar, slap it on there, staple it. Of course, you just pretended it really hurt, but it was the plastic one, so no one ever knew.
That's fucking incredible. That's one of the best things I've ever heard, Owen.
Yeah, it's all well and good until one of your mates called Neil, we call him Naked Neil affectionately, does it with an industrial staple and you have to call the fire brigade. and then it's not so much fun.
Ben Taylor did say, "Have you spoken to Naked Neil yet?"
Yeah. He's a legend. And maybe you should get him on. If you've got some clothes on, that's a bonus. But yeah, he's got some stories.
Well, as long as he staples your ball sack to a bar.
A whole podcast on Naked Neil stories, crikey.
Maybe that's when we revisit at a later date. I'm not sure I can go anywhere after Blake's just told me he used to staple his ball sack to a
exactly. See,
I think it's mint. Generally, I'd like to try it, but
it don't hurt. It's a wonderful thing.
I can't see.
I'm Tom. I'm done with my ball sack, so we could.
Yeah, so am I now. Yeah.
We'll use a machete on yours, Phil. Owen, mate, thanks for coming on. It's been a pleasure to chat to you. Nice to see that you had, like I said, you had your fans there, your followers, or
they're just my punters, mate. I told them you were going to be here today, so they've stayed for a couple of minutes.
Well, they've heard about the goat, didn't they? So they wanted. Exactly, it does look like you're looks like you're Captain Hook and you've got your lost boys. It's a bit nervous. Anyway, lads, in that case, cheers then. Have a good evening. Phil's not drinking yet again.
Best of luck on the weekend, boys. Make it 6 from 6.
Yeah, have a good one. See you in a bit, lads.
Cheers, man.
So that was Owen. I personally am somewhat in awe of someone who can staple their balls to a bar. But purely because one's plastic, kind of feel like it's a bit of a, I'm
not being funny, but if I'm plastered, I'm having to think about which one's plastic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a massive risk there.
Well, I guess it stays on one side. It's not just going to be floating around, is it?
Yeah. No, you don't guess. You should know that it's.
Yeah. It's the one that doesn't hurt when you staple it. No, but again, thanks, Owen. Thanks to the Wellingborough boys in the background as well. It was good value having you there. Couldn't really hear most of you what you're saying. There was a big lad that I called out for looking like a second mate. He does. You don't have to look at him twice. So if you're a club that has been listening, or you're from a club and you've not heard any of your lads on a podcast before, which is probably most of the fucking clubs that we talk to, get in contact with us. We are on Instagram and Facebook. Just search the Midlands Rugby Podcast. Come find us, and then also you can also probably comment on our stuff on YouTube to get hold of us. But just share it around the clubs. I think that one proves that actually we are trying to get people on we don't know, and we like meeting. Well, I like meeting people. Phil, just like I said, likes to keep them behind the rope, but I'm always one to say hello to them. So if you want to get involved, just let us know.
Definitely, yeah. I think we'll go as everybody wants us to grow. There's no.
We'll go where they want us to grow.
Exactly.
That's a tattoo, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tattoo. Keep your eyes open for a live pod as well. I know we've mentioned this since season 1 in 2019, but it's more likely to happen. I actually had a former guest from PavsPod message saying, when you getting me and 2 people on, and I said, potentially live pod. Potentially. That's only because I know all 3 of them, and we don't want them to be, I don't want to have to edit it, basically. Let's just say one of them stripped naked and served food to their auntie. That's how I remember the story, James Stokes. Yeah. Next week, we'll round up the counties 2, Midlands, and all them leagues. And I think we might actually have a local lad on next week. We'll keep it off. And then we'll also, in a few weeks, got quite a well-known social media presence, so that's exciting as well. So keep an eye open to that. Phil, you've not been here for a few outros. The first outro you did, you said you were going to go away and prepare some wise words. Have you got any wise words this week?
I have just Googled some wise words. Yes. Yeah. So here we go. Big is little, and little is big.
I am little. Get in.
Me too, brother.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Phil. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.